We are finally here, Just Be with Josephia Henderson. I am beyond excited to be here and to kick off things. So, here's a little backstory. So, back in 2021, I started the Joe Henderson Project podcast. And this is kind of a season three of the Joe Henderson podcast and a season one of Just Be. So, if you have not listened to the very first episode of the Joe Henderson Project podcast, where I introduce myself and the why behind the Joe Henderson Project, I'm going to give you a shortened version of that. And then also, I'm going to introduce yourself to who I am and kind of the reason of why I wanted to start this version or this season of our channel. So, grab a cold beverage if you need it, grab some hot tea. Let's get comfortable and let's chat. So, back in 2020, I started the Joe Henderson Project because it was time. I was working in the at that time, I was working in the fitness industry for about 3 years. I had run a couple of boutique style gyms, and I really wanted something that brought all three pieces that I knew helped a client get their best results, which was nutrition, movement, and mindset. And that's how we got the Joe Henderson Project. We just celebrated our third anniversary. Our business has changed so much. And this is going to be a life update as well. Our business has changed so much. So, in the last 3 years, where I just started off and I was just in the gym, I am no longer going to be taking in-person clients and retiring from that part of the business. And I'm really, really excited about being more online, being able to teach, which that's what's part of this journey. And this season is going to be about me teaching a lot about what's happening in our bodies in this mid-journey lifestyle. Also, it's going to be a lot about the transitions that I've personally been going through over the last 2 years. And I'll give you guys a headline about some of those things. But most importantly, allowing a space where you can just show up and be in so many different ways, especially as women and myself as a woman of color. We've had to show up in spaces and we've had to conform to our surroundings. Or we've been in spaces and we didn't necessarily get to be ourselves. And this show is going to be about just being. So we're in our home office studio today, but we are going to be going lots of places in this season. And we're going to be talking to a lot of amazing guests. But first, let me get caught up on what has happened in my life since I recorded the Joe Henderson Project podcast. So the last episode that I recorded was in 2021, and it was right after I had my appendix out. And so in 2021, it was an amazing year. My sister had gotten married in July, and the last episode was in August. So we are just coming off my sister's wedding. And then before that, we had all of the fun bridal activities, a lot of traveling that year. So in July of 2021, I had to have emergency surgery and have my appendix out 2 days after my sister's wedding. And that for me really started what I kind of called was my dark season. My body, who I had been using for my work, who had been getting so strong, and I was at what I would say the peak of my physique in the peak of my health in 2021, having to have emergency surgery and not being able to lift anything more than 5 pounds was really hard for me mentally. And so I felt like my body had betrayed me in the same way that it did when I was first diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And so it was a really hard mental time for me then. And as the rest of the year kind of went on and progressed, I kind of let that mindset that I was going through of that body piece of it show up in my day-to-day life. And I went into, again, a really dark season. And so that brings us to the top of 2022. And at the beginning of 2022, I made the decision that I wanted to rededicate my life to Christ. And of course, I knew the second that I did that, all you know what was going to break free in my life. And that's kind of what happened. Right after that, my husband and I had been living in this really great home, and our landlord wanted to sell the house that we were living in, and that threw us into a tizzy. And so for about 3 months, we were going through trying to figure out were we going to move, where we were going to move, and what we were going to do. And if you've ever been in a situation where your physical security in your home is kind of uprooted in question, that also will take a lot out of you mentally and emotionally. Around this time is when I actually started to see my therapist as well, which I will do a whole another episode on mental health and my own therapy journey and experience because it was amazing. I was so very grateful that I had that safe space to talk through a lot about what was going on, to help me understand how my brain works, also being newly diagnosed with ADD as well. So there was a lot of mental things going on, but I was really, really leaning into my relationship with God. And at the time, my business wasn't feeling how I wanted it to feel as well. And so that's when I was making some of those decisions, whether to pull back in person, what I wanted to add into my business as well. All the time, again, really, really praying and asking God to help lead my decisions. At that time, as well as really making sure that I was making choices that really aligned with me. So at the end of 2022, that is when I decided to no longer to kind of cut back how I was managing my business and really transition things to more of an online perspective. So I really was going into the nutrition coaching field. I'm 2 times certified for nutrition coaching, and I've loved where that has taken me and my clients this year in 2023. We moved, we're in a different space now, and there was something so amazing about the top of the year, us moving into our beautiful space that we are now. We're living in the city versus living in the suburb. So that kind of calmed down and it really allowed me to continue that journey of what makes you happy. What are the things that you really, really want to do more of to make you happy? And then your business and your world around you kind of gets to be happy. So that takes us to current date. Those are some of the things that have been happening. The appendicitis and the emergency surgery really set me back mentally. But it allowed me to slow down and that allowed me to lead into deciding what made me happy. This summer, I took the summer off. So from June all the way to the end of July, I was working in my business, but I was not working on my business this summer. Again, I slowed down and it allowed me again to really decide how I wanted to see my business go in the fall through the next at least 6 to 9 months. So there's going to be so much exciting things happening in the business that I will talk about. I've got a really special announcement at the end of our first talk show. But I really did want to just set the intention of where I'm at and then where I some of the things that I want to talk about just in this midlife journey. Through the summer, I really had an opportunity to take some time and realize that no one really tells you what your mid to late 30s are really going to look like. Your mid to your late 30s are going to is has been this season for me to really love myself, to love where the way that my body is changing and me honoring my body for where it's brought me instead of having that feeling that my body abandoned me throughout the last couple of years. I've really taken some time this year to learn my body, to learn what are the things that she really likes, what are the things that I need to do more of, and what do I need to do less of. Even being in the nutrition and the fitness realm professionally, there's a lot of things about how we are taught to move our bodies that I don't agree with. So I've been doing my own experimenting with moving my body and how I train my body and how I train my clients. Even from a nutritional perspective, I have not been as rigid this year that I probably was in 2021 preparing for a wedding and also being at my peak physique. So I'm switching up some things nutrition wise as well. And that also leads me into this late to mid 30s where we're starting to talk about hormonal changes. And we're starting to talk about having conversations with some of my clients that are in their late 30s into early 40s about perimenopause and not something that we even thought that we had to think about until later on in life. I will also be sharing in this discussion my choice and my husband's choice to be professional aunties and uncles. And then that also where that leaves you in this midlife journey where you've got friends who have young kids or kids in middle school, and then they're taking care of aging parents. And how that kind of relates to your life and your community. I'm really big on community, so I really want us to get together and have conversations and just be in this talk show and in this realm. The goal for this show is to be a once a week talk show. I'm going to be inviting in some of the most amazing guests to talk to you guys about their just being journey and them showing up authentically where they are in their business and their personal life. And I'm also going to be going back and updating some of the episodes from season 1 of the Joe Henderson Project. So we're going to be bringing back in some of our guests from that season, which was my beautiful sister, Whitney Johnson, who has now gotten married. In the podcast, we talked about her upcoming wedding. Now she's a married woman now, and she just had my amazing niece 8 months ago as I'm recording this. So a lot has happened, not only in my life, but also in the conversation. Also, my best friend, Lydia Smith, who is now the Chief Diversity Officer at Victoria's Secret, was back in Wisconsin when we first recorded the Joe Henderson Project podcast. We were in 2 different cities, living our bestie life, and now we're in the same city. So you guys will get to see her life update, as well as we talk about going from besties in different cities to now her being part of my tribe here in Columbus. We had the amazing dietitian, and at the time she was preparing to be a midwife, and now she's starting an amazing midwife. We've got to have her back on to talk about how her business and her life has changed. And then I did a really important episode around HBCUs also in that first season. And I want to do an update on that because you are going to see all things FAMU in our studios as we continue to update our space. So I wanted to give you guys a life update of what has happened, but also give you guys a chance to get to know me. I am going to just be in this show. Sometimes I'll show up with my red lipstick on, which this is by the Lip Bar Boss Lady. Always gonna find me in a Lip Bar lipstick. So sometimes I'll have lipstick on, sometimes I won't have lipstick on. Sometimes we'll have the lighting just right, sometimes I might be in bed. This show is going to be less about how I look and how I show up, more importantly, about who I am and how I want to help you guys determine who you are. And as we are working through the ebbs and flow of life and our journey, we're going to do this together. I'm Josephia Henderson. I am a wife. I am a dog mom. I am an auntie. I am a sister. I am a friend. I am a coach. But most importantly, I'm just me. So I hope that you guys enjoy this first episode. We're going to be doing some live streams throughout the week. This week as some bonuses for our first week as we're kicking off. You guys can stay tuned to a new weekly episode every single week by Sunday. And I really hope that you guys are looking forward to these conversations. And to our first surprise of the week on the show. One is in September, I am going to be launching my very first group program of the year, and it's going to be a 3-month program. So in our next episode, I'm going to share with you guys a little bit more about what group coaching and what coaching with me looks like. And hopefully I'll have some actual sound bites and some videos from my clients where they can tell you some of the things that we worked on. This 3-month program is going to be all 3 of the pieces of nutrition, mindset, and movement. And it's going to be talking a lot about traveling through the journey of life. It's not going to be just focused on movement. It's not going to be just focused on nutrition or just focused on mindset. For 3 months, we're going to walk hand in hand on a journey to help us find out how to be the most authentic version of ourselves and allow us to set goals that are really self-centered and allow us to unwrite some of the rules that we've created for ourselves and for our bodies. I am extremely excited about this 3-month program that's going to be coming up. And I want to give one of you guys who are watching this episode a chance to win a spot. So one person will win 1 spot for free in this program. That is going to be up to a $500 value just by watching this first episode. So what can I add? What do you need to do to enter? I just need you in this video to put me in the comments. And then on this Sunday, August 20th, I will come back and I will pick one of you guys that commented me to win the very first spot in the 3-month program. So I hope and I pray that you guys enjoyed this as much as I did, getting to get this out of my heart, getting to move my mouth and my hands with you guys. I'll see you guys soon.